The noise around Chelsea makes things seem worse than they are in this current state. I think right now Poch is doing a really good job.
It still feels like this Bayern side, in the grand scheme of things, are kind of in decline. Even the team that Tuchel took over last year, you know, they were quite lucky in the end to win the Bundesliga last year. It took Dortmund messing up on multiple occasions for that to happen.
One thing I really like about Nuñez is the fact that he doesn't listen to anything. You know, in a good way. He doesn't listen to the outside noise.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Monday Vibes, the show where we round up the biggest talking points from the weekend just past. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Mr. James Wayne, back on Football Daily screens. How are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I think I'm probably feeling a bit better than you.
Yeah,
you got a very smooth voice going on after
opposite of smooth. Yeah,
Doogie's weekend. No, I'm good. Yeah, just kind of very normal weekend. Stayed in, did some cooking, cooked an apple crumble for the first time.
That's nice.
And yeah,
a British classic.
Very family oriented.
Orientated, I think you could say both.
Weekend.
Yep.
So very nice and humble for me. What about yourself?
Lovely. Bit of humble pie, apple crumble. Eh?
Nice.
As you alluded to, James, I was at Doogie's wedding on the weekend. Wonderful day and party. But yeah, my voice is pretty gone from I'd screaming some words at the top of my voice. I can't quite remember what the kind of big tunes were. Mr. Brightside got played. Also, like the band ended with Angels.
You love a bit
and
of
it was
Robbie,
kind of like, no one really saw it coming. They thought the music was ending, and then they pulled that out of the bag. So yeah, blame Robbie Williams for that one. But yes, Doogie flying away on his honeymoon as we speak, I believe. No doubt you will still be hearing from him on Twitter because the guy cannot stop. But anyway, into the football because it was a big weekend of action across Europe. We're going to be running through title race in the Premier League and also, of course, coming to the Bayern Munich situation. Thomas Tuchel under big pressure in Bavaria. But yeah, let's kick off, James, with the result from Saturday. Man City won, Chelsea won. A scoreline that I don't think many people saw coming, but equally, given the 4-4 at Stamford Bridge earlier in the season, given Pochettino's pretty favourable record against Pep Guardiola, were you overly surprised at full time?
In hindsight, no. But in terms of the game itself, it was quite a frustrating watch from a City's perspective. Obviously, Poch has this record. Well, I had a look into it. He's Pep Guardiola is Poch's most faced opponent managerially. Came up against him 24 times. Hasn't actually got that many wins against him. It's only going 4 or 5 wins.
I mean, some of those would have been at Espanyol, I assume, back in the early 2010s.
He's got a good record of kind of frustrating Pep Guardiola. So his first game, I think, in Espanyol against Barca. So his first game in management against Pep Guardiola, a 0-0 draw. Tottenham, similarly, I think they beat us there in Poch's first game. PSG, I think we beat them. But once again, a thorn in Pep Guardiola's side. I think it was a day that I think you saw after the kind of scenes of Haaland being very frustrated, very defeated. It was like we got knocked out of a cup. Yeah, that kind of feeling of disappointment. I think it was the disappointment in the players themselves. It's a game that we could have easily won, but we could have also easily lost. A huge amount of chances. Haaland with I don't actually know how many shots he got, but he had an XG of 1.82, which is higher than Chelsea's overall of 1.8. So very frustrating day for him. It's like he put flubber in his hair instead of hair gel. Like, it was just every time the header came to him, it was just bouncing ridiculously. But he was extremely frustrated. I think for us, Chelsea did play well. I will give Chelsea their props. They're a side where under immense pressure. I think Pochettino is actually doing a good job. I genuinely do. I think you can't go into a situation like Chelsea and expect to do well because it's just a bit of a mess everywhere. So any manager coming in, I think we've seen it already, is going to struggle. And Poch is on a little bit of a good run at the moment. 2 wins when people thought they were going to lose. Especially like at the Villa game, everyone's like, oh, they get dumped out here.
100%. And
then again in this game, like, they got a result. I would say they might feel disappointed themselves because had some very clear-cut opportunities. They played the way Pochettino does against Pep Guardiola. They sit back and look at opportunities to break. Cole Palmer, I thought, was really, really good. Showed a different side of him. A lot of line-breaking passes, starting the attacks rather than kind of finishing them off. I thought he was really impressive. Malo Gusto, I think people need to be talking about him more. 20 years old, he plays like a vet. He's extremely good, especially today, on the day, let's say. 8 tackles, 2 key passes, 1 interception, made Doku really look like a player who's not equipped to do anything apart from his one task of dribble and beat your man. Made it really difficult for him. Doku only completing 3 out of his 10 dribbles. He did get 3 shots off, but 2 were off target and 1 was blocked. It was quite a poor day from him. Kind of showed that Grealish's injury, let's say he was fit for the game and Doku was in over him, which has happened this season. There are certain games where Doku isn't not capable for, but it isn't suited for.
Yeah.
Where Grealish was definitely suited for this game. I think there's a bit more control with Grealish, and it's a sign that Doku and Grealish need to work together and be rotated.
I guess that the advantage Grealish has is he's had 2 more years of coaching under Pep. Has been kind of coached into this side a bit more.
Yeah, it's frustrating with Grealish because obviously it's a player that I want to see play week in, week out. Doku, I think he was explosive when he came in, kind of an unknown quantity, but I do think we're seeing managers go, okay, this is what Doku does, and it's easily managed now. Where Grealish, people get frustrated at the fact he comes back into, he'll kind of beat his man a little bit and then come back and pass it in. But I prefer that because what he's doing is he's being like, I can go down the wing, I can beat you one-on-one, but this is the way we play and this is how we're going to break you down. Where Doku is very one-dimensional. It's kind of that, the amount of times you'll see it in a game where he kind of just taps the ball to the right and then nothing comes of it. He'll go up to his man, tap the ball to his right, or go down the line. He's very easy to read. So I do think there's more to come from Doku. I'm not saying this is the end of him at City, but it's we're starting to see managers deal with him very easily. But either way, very good game from Gusto. And Gallagher, once again, I thought was very impressive. I just think he's just growing into this Chelsea side as a leader. I think he's extremely impressive. I'm really liking the kind of progression from Gallagher at this moment, especially in the kind of times where you've got Chelsea spending 200 million on 2 players in the midfield, and you've got him and Palmer being the kind of standout players. I really enjoy that fact, that kind of young English players kind of pipping the money, let's say.
Sure.
But in this game itself, it was, as I've been saying, frustrating. Man City, 3 point something XG, 30 odd shots to Chelsea's 9, but only 5 on target to Chelsea's 6. So it's very much a case of City's weakness is counter-attacks. Pochettino knows this and exploited it extremely well. I think if it wasn't for Ederson and Haaland's performances, obviously Ederson being good, Haaland being not so good, this game would have been completely different. I thought Ederson was really good on the day, stopped some good one-on-one chances. Chelsea themselves kind of fluffed a few, but every time Chelsea...
Could have been 2-0 up at half-time, couldn't they?
It could have been a lot more because, there was the Sterling one, which Ederson stomped out, the Jackson one, the Enzo and Jackson kind of miscommunication where Enzo hit instead of Jackson. These all could have been good. Those chances were better than any that City had. Most of City's kind of clear-cut opportunities were the Haaland headers. So I really think there were quotes afterwards from Pochettino saying that he's proud of his players and he thought they did well, and Guardiola kind of... I need to see the context of it because I've only read it. I need to see how he actually said it, but he kind of shot it down being like, oh, good for them if that's what they think. If that's what they're going for, then all right. But if I was a Chelsea fan, if I was a Chelsea, part of the coaching squad, I'd be impressed coming out of this squad because out of this game, because they did their job well. They limited us massively. A lot of our shots were just speculative efforts. Plenty of players between the ball and the goal. I think they did their job really well. But as I said, we still created the opportunity. So I come out of this frustrated that we didn't get a win. Thankful that we didn't get a loss because that could have easily happened as well, and not too disheartened going into it because we're coming in good form. Yes, this is a draw. hinders things a little bit, but I think the performance was there. Our back line, though, I think was quite... I really don't like criticising Man City defenders, because it's probably the hardest thing to do, be a defender for Pep Guardiola, because you don't really defend too much, and when you do, it's like desperate defending. You're running to your goal and trying to defend at the same time. It's not like just get your body in the way because you've got a low block on. Like, you have to defend from the halfway line back to your own goal, and it's very difficult. But Akanji didn't have the best game, and obviously Gvardiol's out, and Ake's performed on the playing on the left side. And for me, it's the chopping and changing of the back four. I've said it at the beginning of the season, and I'll probably say it now. If we're going to not win trophies, if we're not going to win the league, etc., it's going to be down to that rather than anything else. The chopping and changing. I know injuries like John Stones just come back, etc., but we need, especially for this period coming up, because it's mental, we need to have a solid back four. And I know that's wishful thinking because injuries do happen, and we've got a very talented squad, but we do have quite a thin squad. So when an injury does happen, it does impact the squad quite a lot. But John Stones needs to be playing. I understand injuries, he's just come back, we want to kind of warm him in, but like, he is so essential to the way we want to play. Well, not the way we want to play, but he lets us play a completely different way, which is better than the way we play now. I think it's a better way to put it. But
yeah, I mean, he was massively important. I mean, City don't win the treble last year without John Stones playing the way he did towards the end of the season. Like you say, you got a big run coming up. Luton away in the FA Cup, then United, Copenhagen, Liverpool, Brighton, Arsenal and Villa. I think me and Dukes were talking about this last week on the show. Those Liverpool and Arsenal games look increasingly like very much almost like
make or break for the season.
Yeah, just like those are the title deciders.
Yeah,
given the form that Arsenal and Liverpool are both in at the moment, and I feel like that dejection, because I was a bit taken aback by Haaland pushing a camera away, Rodri being absolutely, and I know City and maybe rightly felt aggrieved to not get that handball from Levi Colwill,
true,
given that the other handballs that we've seen this season, and that was obviously late in the game. I can see that, but also it felt like it felt like those players were thinking this is an opportunity missed here, or give it. We thought we'll get onto Liverpool, but Arsenal, Liverpool again, like with two absolutely magnificent performances against lesser opposition. But do you feel like there is more pressure now on City than there has been in seasons past, perhaps, just given the level of competition they're up against?
I would say the competition is fiercer. I think it's more of a challenge. I don't think pressure is the right word, because you've just come back off a treble. Like, the pressure should be off in terms of the players, but they themselves, Pep Guardiola, it's drilled into them that every game you must win, and perfection. That's what they're trying to achieve. It's not just kind of winning titles; it's perfection, which obviously is impossible. But from watching City countless years, the way they operate, the fact that they're not ahead, I think is a dangerous thing. I think City chasing is one of the most scary things in football if you are a team above them. I agree that the Arsenal and Liverpool games, more so, I was going to say more so the Liverpool game, but then, as we'll get on to later, Liverpool's injuries are horrendous. They've got a few distractions. So, as much as I would like to say, it's only City and Liverpool in this title race, Arsenal are well in there. And yes, it is both of those games that are kind of title deciders.
As a Man City fan, because I know Doogie went to the Brentford City game a couple of weeks ago, was asking City fans this question. Is there one of the two that you're more scared of in terms of this title
Liverpool,
race?
100%. Yeah. It's always going to be Liverpool. I think Arsenal have full capabilities of being the scary team, but I just think Klopp, it's a convenient time for Liverpool to be like this ferocious. At the moment they're the more scary team because Klopp is a fantastic manager. They've got one of the best players in the world at their team. In multiple positions. They've got a kind of exciting squad where there's quite a lot of players wanting to perform, if that makes sense. They're kind of fighting for their positions. They're trying to show that they are the main guy, and obviously Klopp leaving is just a huge boost in kind of morale for the team. Like, we've got to do this for Klopp. So I think they're the standout, but Arsenal, we shouldn't be writing them off realistically, because pushed us all the way last season. I say all the way, like genuinely did. Like, you know, there is the meme, they fell off, whatever, but they pushed us all the way. And in this season, yes, they haven't been as good, but they've still got all the, you know, everything they had last season they've got and more. Like Urian Timber still yet to come into the side. I think, as you know, they've got the capabilities to do it. Yeah. And I think Liverpool's injuries and maybe City slipping up, like we've seen cracks here, you know, could push them further into the title race. But if I had to pick one of them, it would be Liverpool.
Yeah, fair enough. When you say Arsenal not being as good, certainly the case in the first half of the season, but I think they've now won for the first time ever in the Premier League. They've won each of their first 5 games after Christmas or of the new year. Arsenal, another massively impressive win over Burnley on the weekend. But let's move on to Liverpool, because obviously put away Brentford 4-1 on the weekend, welcoming back Mo Salah, who scored twice. Scored and assisted in this game. I mean, a pretty straightforward win for Liverpool in the end. 2.8 XG to Brentford's 1.6. Obviously means they maintain that 2-point lead over Arsenal at the top of the table, and crucially after Man City's draw, it means that even if Man City win their game in hand against Brentford tomorrow night, Liverpool will still be top. Hence why those 2 games for City are so crucial in this title race now. It carries on some pretty remarkable form from Liverpool. Obviously lost to Arsenal, but aside from that, they've been near flawless this year. 6 of their last 7 games they've won in the league. They've scored 4 in 4 of those games. Nuñez is also arguably in the form of his Liverpool career right now, scored in consecutive Prem games for the first time this season. He's got 4 in his last 4 starts. But he did come off at half-time with a knock. Apparently, you know, he's still expected to return potentially in time for the Luton game on Wednesday. If not, they'll be hoping he'll be back in time for the weekend. And obviously Salah's return, massive plus, you know, great goal, you know, completely bamboozled Nathan Collins to make it 3-0, set up McAllister 10 minutes after coming on as well. But the Nuñez departure was one of 3 in this game for injury. You know, Jota came off before half-time with that nasty-looking knee injury after that pretty unfortunate coming together. Curtis Jones also came off injured and left the stadium on crutches. Maybe that was just that, you know, that may have been more precautionary than anything else. I don't, you know, his injury is certainly not as serious as Jota's, and he may well return quite soon. But, you know, another worry for a player who's been in magnificent form over the last couple of months. Alisson didn't even make the squad after pulling up in training. Trent Alexander-Arnold, of course, didn't make the squad either. He's out until March after aggravating a knee injury against Burnley last week. Dominic Szoboszlai still nursing a hamstring injury. Not sure if he'll be back in time for the Carabao. And then, of course, you've got Bajcetic, Thiago and Matip all out long term. They could be without 9 first-team players going into that Carabao Cup final. We spoke about Chelsea just now. They're in a pretty good moment. Liverpool also in a good moment, but also without a lot of key personnel. And that midfield of, you know, they've got Gravenberch, who has, you know, been inconsistent in his first season. McAllister and Endo and Elliott as well, if he wants to be utilised. They are their only fit midfielders at this moment in time. Jota, of course, is... you know, been in brilliant form as well recently, and out long term. James, I was kind of going to ask you, I guess with, you know, they've got Luton midweek and then Chelsea on Sunday, of course, in the cup final. Are you concerned about Liverpool going into that Carabao Cup final?
I think it can go one of. Are you speaking kind of in terms of Man City's perspective in the league, or
no? As in, do you think Chelsea could spring a surprise here?
I don't think it would be a surprise, really. If you look at kind of going into this game, Chelsea are in a good place, despite the kind of noise around everything. I think being able to galvanise and have a bit of good form, Chelsea, this is a Pochettino kind of job, is... I want to say, like, the noise around Chelsea makes things seem worse than they are in this current state. I think right now Poch is doing a really good job in terms of, say, galvanising the team and kind of putting them into this good form, where Liverpool, on the other hand, are in good form but have a horrendous amount of injuries. It's I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool won the game, because it's Liverpool. You can never write them off in any situation in terms of, they could have horrendous injuries. Under Klopp, you can't write them off. But then Chelsea do look like they're good, and they'll be up for it. Like, they've stepped up, against City in the 4-4. They stepped up today, and I keep thinking it's the weekend on the day. Sorry, just on the weekend just gone, I should say. And they, have the capabilities to beat Chelsea, especially to Liverpool. Sorry, especially a very, very weak Liverpool in terms of the players they'll be able to field. I think.
I mean, we say weak. I mean, Salah's back, which is a massive boost.
Weaker, but then when you look at the midfield,
the midfield is the worry, isn't it?
And the midfield is by far Chelsea's strong point at the moment. I think Gallagher is in incredible form. Palmer's in incredible form, and Enzo and maybe not Caicedo as much, but Enzo's kind of shaking off a lot of the haters and kind of performing the way we expect him to, and things are clicking. Like Nkunku, we've hardly seen him. He's a massive threat. Sterling's looking good, although he doesn't have the best record against Liverpool, so
no,
that might be a thing for Pochettino to think about. But it's hard. It's a cup final between two sides who both have the capabilities to win it, but also have this season shown vulnerabilities. But I do think if I was to put my money on a team, I think it would have to be Chelsea.
You're actually going for Chelsea?
Purely for the fact of it's very hard to maintain consistency when you've got players being injured, and just one injury can really throw off your form. If it's your back line, your midfield, anything, it can really throw you off as a team. And to have so many constantly, like, what was it, 4 in the game just gone, or 3? Three
came off,
and to important players as well. Hopefully Nuñez is back, because I'm really enjoying Nuñez at the moment. I think the kind of the chaos footballer mantle that's been put on him is kind of being shrugged off a little bit, and people are going like, okay, this is the way he plays. He will hassle you, he will create so many chances, and he's a physical presence, and now he's getting the finishes, but he can finish. Like, he's
a great finish, by the way, against Brentford. We haven't even mentioned what a lovely goal that was. And he outrageous.
And one thing I really like about Nuñez is the fact that he doesn't listen to anything. He in a good way. He doesn't listen to the outside noise, because everyone's been hammering him for his whole time at Liverpool. Yet, fair enough, he's in good form, but in a season where he's hit the post like 14 times and he's been ridiculed for missing chances, when he gets the one-on-one opportunity, well, it's not even one-on-one, it's a 2-on-1, because Jota's there. He could have easily passed to Jota, but he still has the confidence in himself to chip the keeper, and that's what I really like about Nuñez. And I think genuinely he could be the factor against Luton as well, and Chelsea to win these types of games, because he just doesn't give you a minute. I think we saw Chelsea on the weekend. They did give up chances to Haaland, who's a big physical presence. Like, it's not like Chelsea are completely solid at the back and there's nothing to worry about because they got a draw against City. Like, they did concede a lot of chances. Fair enough, not great chances, but a big physical presence hindered Chelsea's performance on the weekend, or kind of could have caused chaos and should have caused chaos. And I think Darwin Nuñez can do a similar thing. But yeah, I think I'm really excited for it, to be fair. I'm really, really looking forward to that Carabao Cup final, and I do think Chelsea might have enough in, just because they've got the momentum at the moment.
I mean, Alisson obviously a big miss for Liverpool as well. Massive game for Conor Bradley. That I think he's obviously been brilliant, but big day at Wembley for the lads, stepping in for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Let us know what you think Carabao Cup final. What's going to happen in the Carabao Cup final in the comments? Give us your predictions. I'm going to go for a Liverpool win. Still, I'm going to go for a Liverpool win. I think the experience in that side of those big games is still there. Van Dijk and Salah.
Robertson's back as well.
Robertson's back.
Yeah.
There are still some big players in that side, despite them. Yeah, like you say, I could see Chelsea really winning that midfield battle, though. Like I'm with you on that. I think Liverpool will have to kind of rely on those kind of really pacey counter-attacks. But let's finish off the show in Germany. We obviously covered it last week. Bayern losing to Leverkusen. Since then, they've lost twice. In 5 days, lost to Lazio, of course, midweek in the Champions League, lost here against Bochum, 3-2, and at 8 points behind Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga title race. Upamecano sent off again and gave away a penalty again, second time in 5 days, for a second yellow for an elbow in the box. Kevin Stoger sealing the win from the penalty spot there after Kevin Schlotterbeck and Takuma Asano put them 2-1 ahead in the first half. Obviously, nice goal from Musiala to open the scoring. Kane then misses that sitter when arguably should have squared it to Thomas Muller. And now, big pressure on Thomas Tuchel now. Crazy to think that Harry Kane may not win a trophy, or looks likely not to win a trophy now in his first season at Bayern Munich. Perennial trophy winners. When was the last time they didn't win a trophy? Was it like 2011, 2012? I'm not even sure.
Ruins Kingsley Coman's record as well.
Oh, what of
he's won a league
title in every single team? Of course, still out injured as well. Kingsley Coman as well. James, what do you think about this? Because I mean, there's been reports today from Rafa Honigstein that Xabi Alonso is top of Bayern Munich's list as the Tuchel replacement. Apparently, that would only be in the summer, and Bayern are keen to keep hold of Tuchel until then. Basically, they don't really want to twist at this point. Hansi Flick, his name has been dotted around in the papers, but Bild are reporting that Bayern are not interested in him at this moment in time. And this, of course, comes after kind of reports of Joshua Kimmich and Thomas Tuchel's relationship being completely broken after the midfielder fell out or had an argument with Zolt Low, Thomas Tuchel's assistant, after the game. But I mean, Tuchel was obviously quite defensive, saying they had the much bigger XG. They didn't deserve to lose the game. They played the game five more times. But I mean, this is kind of indicative of a Bayern side who've been really inconsistent, especially even before Thomas Tuchel, right? Under Nagelsmann too. I mean, what do you make of this, James? Like, do you feel like this season is salvageable for Bayern? Like, do you see, like, for example, I mean, they still do host Lazio in that second leg of the Champions League. Like,
I think it's a weird thing to say. I think it's been a very good weekend for football. The fact that like Man City have drawn keeps the title race alive, and the fact that Bayern Munich have lost again. I think football kind of needs this, especially German football. Like, the pressure on anyone, whether it be player, manager at Bayern Munich, is incredible. Like, one thing I really don't like is kind of fans and their kind of I'm forgetting the word here, but they're kind of the fact that they think they deserve perfection in football. Like, the standards that they put on their team are ridiculously high, and Bayern Munich is the epitome of that. Like, every country has the one team. It's like the Real, well, actually Spain have got two, but Real Madrid, Barca, Bayern and Man United, like, the fans expect so much, and I think Bayern's is incredibly ridiculous, the standards that the fans put on the players and the staff and everything, to the fact that they can have a season where they could still win the league. They could have, but it's one bad season and it's like chaos. Like, sack everyone, like, let's do protests, and it's like, I am enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm enjoying it, because people need to be humbled a little bit. In terms of Bayern Munich as a club, I think it's just unfortunate. I think Thomas Tuchel's a great manager. We know he's a bit divisive in terms of staff and players and whatnot, and even his opinions to the German media. We've seen him argue on camera with I forget who it is now.
Lothar Matthäus.
That's the one. And he's a person who will defend himself and is quite strong-willed, which is kind of what you need for a job like Bayern Munich. Like, as I said, the pressure is ridiculous. But in terms of getting Xabi Alonso in, I would hate that. I think Xabi Alonso, shouldn't move. I think he should have next season as Bayer Leverkusen, because what happens a lot of the time, and it frustrates me, is like a team will do well. Let's say Leverkusen win the league this year, then they'll get poached by somebody else, and they don't have the Champions League to kind of play that second season to see where it could actually really go. I would absolutely hate if he moved to Bayern Munich, especially as he knows the pressure of playing for Bayern Munich. He knows what it's like to be a manager of Bayern Munich, because he's seen it, and it would be ridiculous. He's way too early in his career. I even think so for Liverpool. But if the choice was there, he should go to Liverpool instead, because I think why would you go for Bayern Munich? Like,
more fun, isn't it? It's more fun replacing Klopp at Liverpool, who is constructing the next generation of that side, compared to going to Bayern Munich, who, I know that the Kane transfer was massive. They've got players like Musiala coming through, players like Pavlovic who have been impressive as well, but it still feels like this Bayern side, in the grand scheme of things, are kind of in decline. Even though the team that Tuchel took over last year, they were quite lucky in the end to win the Bundesliga last year. It took Dortmund messing up on multiple occasions for that to happen.
Oh, God, yeah.
And now you have a team in Leverkusen who so far have not shown any evidence that they're going to do something like Dortmund did. You're taking over a bit of a poison chalice. Things behind the scenes at Bayern have arguably not been this unstable in years. Their transfer policy has, their transfer strategy has, is weaker than it has been in years as well. So I think, even from just a kind of a personal perspective there, it's not like a manager, a manager's, as we're seeing right now, like, the Bayern Munich job is not an automatic title winning job. And just personally, from a football fan's perspective, I would much rather see Xabi go to Liverpool, because it's just more fun, isn't it? It's just way more fun. But I'm with you. I was saying it before. I think I would love to see Xabi Alonso stay one more year at Bayer Leverkusen, and I think
German football needs it. I really do, because it's when you have one team monopolising. Every year it's Bayern Munich, and like, fair enough for them. Like, it must be incredible to win it every year, but like, I
mean, is it?
Well, that's the thing. I'm a City fan. I was grown up on kind of like, if we won an FA Cup, that would be mental. If we won a Premier League, that's unheard of. And now, for like, you win it it's every year it's less special. It's still great, it's still amazing, still special, but it's less special. And to win it 10 years in a row, and to still be so, like, this game in particular, like, there was a suspension in game, and then Bochum scored twice straight off the bat. I'm not saying that's the reason they won, but it's an unfortunate game for Bayern Munich. But then the pressure is ridiculous, like, that comes back from it, and you can't. I know with elite clubs that you can't have a game off really, because the pressure is incredible. But you need to have, like, what is the point in winning the league every year? Like, it's surely it's boring, and it's so good for German football that Xabi Alonso, someone who's played in the Bundesliga, understands it, has gone into management, and has taken the league by storm. It's going to be one of those situations where if he stays next year, people are going to have to revolutionise their own football, like kind of like the Pep Guardiolas when they come in, and the Klopps, where you have to play a different style because somebody else has got the next thing in football, the next step, and you've got to, competition only makes things get better. So German football genuinely needs Xabi Alonso to win this league and to stay for another season, and Bayern Munich to have a little bit of time off. And I'm sorry, Bayern fans, like, well, I shouldn't even be saying sorry. You've won the league a ridiculous amount. You're ladled with trophies. Like, have a bit of time off, relax, come together, figure things out, and then win the league another 10 times in a row. It's
all eras come to an end, as Ten Hag said. I mean, but I think you're right. That kind of. Yeah, it's kind of shades of when Klopp and Jupp Heynckes and Pep Guardiola were kind of operating at the same time in the Bundesliga. 10 years ago, the Bundesliga was very, very prestigious, especially with Pep coming in at the time. But Klopp stayed at Dortmund 2 years after making the Champions League final, 3 years after winning that those two Bundesliga titles. And I think from Xabi Alonso's perspective, given what we've seen from his career so far, I think he is someone who has patience. I think ideally he would have wanted to see Klopp leave Liverpool next year and take over from him at that point. I think that would be his career plan.
I feel a bit sorry for Alonso.
As it is, he might struggle to turn it down this summer. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to Liverpool, but I don't think it's ideal timing for him. But another win on the weekend, of course, over Heidenheim for Leverkusen. 8 points clear at the top of the Bundesliga. But what do you guys reckon at home? Do you think the Bundesliga title race is over? Do you think Bayern Munich's season is over? Do you think that's it for trophies for Bayern Munich? And who would you want to see replace Thomas Tuchel if he does leave the club? Let us know in the comments below. That's all we have time for on Monday Vibes today. Again, Apologies about my voice; it's absolutely going right now. Yeah, if you enjoyed this one, check out Sunday Vibes from yesterday, where myself, James, and Joe ranked the best wonder kids in Europe this season. Yeah, that was a fun one. Lots of chat about, what was it, Kobe Mainoo?
No, it was around the world.
Lamine Yamal. Yeah, true. Actually, Hendrick's still in Brazil, isn't he? So yeah, best wonder kids in the world we ranked. So yeah, feast your eyes on that. Thanks again for joining me, James Wayne. We're bringing back football pie.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jesus,
for anyone who knows,
I'd
let
be
us
very
know.
surprised.
Actually, let us know in the
Very
comments.
surprised if
Let
a
us know in the
single
comments
person has
if
seen
you know what that reference is.
Yeah.
But
Don't Google it, please. I
What?
might
Really?
privatise the videos. I don't even have the login to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
Dear.
Well, you've given it away now. All right. A nice one, everyone. And we'll catch you again later in the week. See ya.